All right, we'll transition to our next presentation by Hunzeker, who's a medical dosimetrist at Mayo Clinic. And her presentation is on maintaining high quality dosimetry education and radiation oncology medical residency amid and post COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, it's going to be a reimagined training rotation situation. Please take it away.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. So thank you for that introduction. And yes, I'll be talking about our medical dosimetry rotation. This is the team collaboration that I worked with on this project and continue to work with as we look for ways to improve our medical dosimetry rotation for our residents at Mayo Clinic. Our disclosures are listed here. So this presentation, I'll kind of talk about how we value education at Mayo Clinic, as well as give some background on the original medical residency rotation prior to these change implementations. And then we'll kind of talk about what we've done to reimagine the rotation given the new environment post-COVID, as well as our initial preliminary evaluation of these changes. This project is still very much in progress as we look to the future of a post-pandemic world. So education at Mayo Clinic is a very important priority. We're a 3-shield institution in which one of those shields is education, which just speaks to how much we value education and training of our students and residents. In radiation oncology specifically, we have a lot of students all the time. We have 4 formal education programs, our medical and physics residency programs, as well as a radiation therapy program and a medical dosimetry clinical rotation affiliate. All of those groups spend some sort of time in dosimetry. The minimum amount is about 1 month, some of them expanding up to a year. So a lot of our learners and educators, our students get a lot of education from our dosimetrists. So from a historical perspective, this rotation was established in 1996, and it is a 1-month rotation for these medical residents to come through. We focus on a variety of skill developments, including image fusions and contouring, and then we sort of jump right in with the residents and jump into planning. So we'll do some practice plans and sort of 2D, 3D, IMRT, VMAT, SBRT in that realm, and then they'll actually work on real patients as well. And then, of course, involving the attending physicians in those plan reviews with the medical residents and dosimetrists as well. Our initial evaluation of sort of the pre-change implementation has been very successful. Here are some data supporting success of the program from 2014 through 2020. As you can see, there are 4 metrics there that are sort of relevant to the rotation itself on a 5-point scale. And so we just have had a lot of success. Residents really truly value the medical dosimetry rotation. However, we really needed to rethink our program format as 2020 hit, and we were sort of forced into this virtual world and also short staffing, as well as, how do we improve the program moving forward and incorporating all of these new challenges that we've encountered and make sure that the success of the program is maintained. So there were 4 primary areas of development and improvement that we wanted to seek, including mentorship restructure. How do we increase efficiency in teaching? Is there digital delivery platforms that we can utilize? And then, of course, the remote environment. And speaking to the success of the program rotation prior to the implementation, here are just some comments from previous residents, really speaking to their positive experience in their dosimetry rotation. So focusing sort of on that first bullet point, on the mentorship restructure. So prior to the pandemic, there was 1 mentor in dosimetry that was responsible for the education of all medical residents. The positive of this model is there was continuity of the clinical instruction, and it was efficient in that you had 1 person to go to, and you sort of always had that point person. Unfortunately, the limitation of this model was that you're only learning from basically 1 dosimetrist. That rotation can be very intense for the dosimetrist, and that results in difficulty in maintaining clinical responsibilities as well. In a post-pandemic world, we made some changes. We implemented one mentor that was responsible for the introductory material only. So we put some structure around the information that the dosimetrist was to go over with the resident. And then after that basic introductory material was given, we would rotate the resident around to the different disease site experts so that they could learn from every dosimetrist and really learn from the experts in that disease site. So the continuity of the clinical instruction was still maintained with that solid baseline of introductory content, but there was also a better balance of educational responsibilities as well. The second component was, how do we make this a more enduring content focused rotation? So prior to the pandemic, all of the concepts were taught one-on-one in a step-by-step instruction from that dosimetrist. So again, the positive of this was that there was the continuity of education, however, very resource intensive, and there was no reference material for the residents while they were in planning. So it often meant that they had to seek out their mentoring dosimetrist. Sometimes they were, knowing the workload in dosimetry, weren't always comfortable coming and asking them questions. And so in a post-pandemic environment, we really focused on how do we make this enduring content. So we generated 17 standard of practice documents that were created by the site experts for reference, as well as 24 planning tutorials that were also just created by those site experts. So the positives of this model is improved resource utilization. So we were able to sort of provide some of the very basic content and allow the residents to ask more engaging questions of the dosimetrist when they're in planning. And the other positive to this is that the residents were able to access the content as much as they needed to while they were planning, and sometimes walking them through the planning and until they felt comfortable doing it themselves and picking up a real patient. Here's an example of our SOP documentation, including things like where to place isocenter, what beam arrangement you should use, different types of planning tips and tricks, and then how to process paperwork in our department. And then here's a screenshot of our planning tutorial. So it included everything on how to optimize the plan, the structures that dosimetrist created, what the planning directive looked like. Some of the tutorials were 20 minutes up to an hour and a half, depending on the plant complexity. The third component was investigating how do we make this, how do we have a better delivery platform for this education and enduring content. After we had generated all this information, it all lived in an Excel spreadsheet. When while that was nice to have a single location, we didn't really have the ability to have incorporate any kind of instruction capabilities, and there was no data mining abilities. So we transitioned all of our enduring content material into Brightspace. We're able to provide universal access to all learners in our department, including medical residents. We're able to track their assessment in the program as well and ask questions through assessment, as well as control the progression of the videos. And so ensuring that the residents are starting with the correct video and progressing through plant complexities appropriately. And finally, we had to think of how we are going to deliver the high quality content in a remote environment. Pre-pandemic, all of our dosimetrists were on site. Face-to-face interactions were the normal. However, the downside to this was that resident participation in plan review is lacking. A lot of times residents are busy in clinic. The attending just will pop in between patients and it really left the resident out of that plan review process. In a post-pandemic world, the dosimetrists were moved to a hybrid model. So to meet this demand, we incorporated Microsoft Teams for interactive plan review. So this is a big department initiative, not only to help with the remote dosimetry interactions, but also to increase participation for residents in plan reviews. Residents can be involved wherever they are in the clinic. Preliminary results have shown improvement in some areas of our of the metrics we looked at, and continues to be a very high quality rotation. Residents are satisfied with the virtual learning platform, and we are continuing to evaluate and improve as we go along. Other comments that we've received from residents also support that the reimagined rotation is very positive. So for next steps, we're continuing to improve, as I said, and we're incorporating pre and post tests to assess how the rotation is going and how make sure the residents are pulling the right information out of the videos and out of the sites they're working with. And we also plan to create more of recordings of the plan review interactions between attendings and the dosimetrists so that residents know what they're looking for in plans, and also open this up to our pro-time planning department as well. I'm happy to take any questions.